The Galactic Wildlife Conservation Station orbited the third moon of Kepler 442b, its pristine white corridors humming with the quiet efficiency of interspecies cooperation. Dr. Nehal Khatri adjusted her lab coat as she walked toward the xenobiology wing, her tablet displaying the morning's incident reports. As the station's lead human xenobiologist, she had seen her fair share of unusual cases, but nothing quite like what awaited her. "The Thylorian cub won't stop vocalizing," reported Zix-9, the station's crystalline administrator. Their translucent form flickered with orange stress patterns. "It has been 17 standard hours since we attempted the reassignment to Caretaker Unit 7 Alpha." Nehal paused at the observation deck overlooking the nursery sector. Below, she could see the source of the commotion, a small, fox-like creature with silver fur and 6 legs, no larger than a house cat. The Thylorian cub was indeed vocalizing, its distress calls echoing through the reinforced barriers. Around it, various robotic caretaker units attempted to provide comfort, extending mechanical arms with nutritional supplements and temperature regulators. The cub wanted none of it. "Where is Adnan?" Nehal asked, though she already suspected the answer. "Communications Officer Adnan Malik was reassigned to Deep Space Patrol duty 3 cycles ago," Zix-9 replied, their form shifting to a deeper orange. Standard protocol required the cub's transfer to automated care once it reached appropriate developmental markers. Nehal frowned. She remembered the day the cub had arrived, barely alive after its transport ship had been attacked by space pirates. The Thylorians were a recently discovered species, and very little was known about their behavioral patterns. The cub had been placed in the emergency care unit, where Adnan, pulling double shifts in communications, had volunteered to monitor it during his off hours. That had been 6 months ago. "Has the cub eaten?" Nehal inquired, watching as another caretaker unit approached with synthesized nutrients. The cub recoiled, pressing itself against the far wall of its enclosure. "Negative. Nutritional intake has decreased by 89% since the reassignment." Nehal tapped her tablet, pulling up the cub's behavioral files. What she found made her heart sink. Every positive development in the creature's recovery coincided with Adnan's presence. The first time it had eaten solid food was when Adnan had hand-fed it. Its first steps had been toward Adnan's voice. Its sleep patterns had stabilized only when Adnan would sit beside its enclosure during the night shift. "Zix-9, what's the status on recalling Adnan from patrol?" The crystalline's form shifted to a frustrated red. "Impossible. He is currently investigating anomalous readings in the Vega sector. Communications blackout protocols are in effect." Below them, the cub's vocalizations grew weaker but more desperate. Nehal had heard similar sounds before, in her early career studying Earth mammals. It was the cry of a child calling for its parent. "This creature has imprinted on Adnan," she said suddenly. "Imprinting is a primitive bonding mechanism," Zix-9 replied dismissively. "Surely the cub will adapt to proper caretaker protocols given sufficient time." Nehal shook her head. "Not all bonding is primitive, Zix-9. Some species form attachments that are crucial for survival." She paused, studying the small creature below. "I'm going down there." The nursery was climate-controlled and sterile, but Nehal could feel the cub's distress the moment she entered. It looked up at her with large, luminous eyes that seemed far too old for its small frame. When she approached, it didn't flee as it had from the mechanical caretakers. "Hey there, little one," Nehal whispered, kneeling beside the enclosure. The cub's ears, 3 on each side of its head, perked up at the sound of her voice. "I know you miss him." She opened the enclosure and slowly extended her hand. The cub sniffed cautiously, then pressed its small head against her palm. The texture of its fur was unlike anything she had felt, soft as silk but with an almost electric warmth. "Dr. Khatri," came Zix-9's voice through the comm system. "Protocol dictates—" "Protocol can wait," Nehal interrupted, carefully lifting the cub. It was lighter than she had expected, and she could feel its rapid heartbeat against her chest. Sometimes what a creature needs isn't in any manual. She settled into one of the observation chairs, cradling the cub in her lap. Its vocalizations ceased almost immediately, replaced by a soft, rhythmic purring sound. Within minutes, its breathing had slowed and its eyes were drooping closed. "Fascinating," came another voice from the doorway. Dr. Vex, a Altarian researcher, stood watching with their 4 eyes wide with interest. The cessation of distress vocalizations was immediate upon contact with human skin. Nehal looked down at the sleeping cub. It's not just contact, it's connection. Over the following days, Nehal made it her mission to understand what made human caregivers different. She ran tests, comparing her biometric readings to those of other species while interacting with the cub. What she discovered would later change interspecies caretaking protocols across the galaxy. Humans, it turned out, unconsciously synchronized their heartbeats and breathing patterns with distressed young mammals, any young mammals. Their body temperature adjusted automatically to provide optimal comfort. Most remarkably, human brain scans showed that the same neural pathways activated when caring for any young creature, regardless of species. It appears, Dr. Vex noted in their report, that humans possess an unusual capacity for cross-species empathetic bonding. When Adnan finally returned from his patrol, he found Nehal asleep in the nursery chair, the Thylorian cub curled contentedly in her lap. The moment he spoke, both the cub and Nehal stirred. I came as soon as I received the emergency recall, Adnan said, his voice hoarse with exhaustion and worry. How is she? She? Nehal asked, carefully transferring the cub to Adnan's eager arms. The cub. I've been calling her Tara. He smiled as the small creature nuzzled against his neck. It means star in my language. Nehal watched as Adnan settled into the chair, the cub immediately relaxing in his familiar embrace. She missed you terribly. We all learned something important while you were gone. What's that? That some bonds transcend species, Nehal replied. And sometimes the most advanced thing you can do is simply care. The Galactic Wildlife Conservation Station updated their protocols that day. Human caretakers became highly sought after throughout the galaxy, not for their technology or their knowledge, but for something far more precious, their inexplicable ability to make any lost creature feel at home. And in the quiet of the nursery, as Tara slept peacefully in Adnan's lap while Nehal documented their breakthrough, the universe felt a little less cold and a little more connected.